spread one love, okay? Thanks for tuning in to us, the MNM Show.
MNM Show.
Welcome to the MNM Show. So excited to be here. How you doing today, Molly?
What up, though?
How you doing, Mills?
I'm doing so wonderful.
Yes.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that.
How are you doing, Nikki?
Yeah, Nikki.
Nikki is doing fantastic.
You look like it. You look all bright and shiny today.
I do feel bright and shiny. I've got a lot of positive things going on in my life, you
Right
know,
on.
so it's shining through.
That's awesome.
And one of those things is this show, you know. I love coming down here and doing this show with you ladies and talking about our stories and our personal perspectives on really important things.
Agreed.
And, you know, it's a release for me, and I hope that it becomes therapeutic and thought-provoking for our watchers and listeners as well. So today, ladies,
What?
we're doing our regular thing. We'll have a little story time. We're going to talk about the news. We're going to do our business shout out. We're going to get metaphysical. But we're going to start off talking about the G word. Gentrification.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say gerbils. See, I had that way wrong.
No.
I'm not going
No.
to tell you what G word I was thinking of.
Oh snap!
What? I'm curious.
No.
It's
How
not.
curious.
I'll get
G.
one cue. One clue.
One clue.
No, I can't say
Oh.
it. I can't
Oh
Okay.
wait, no, I want to know. No, I gotta
say it.
know.
No, you really want to know.
Oh, I think I figured it out.
Uh-oh, did you?
Wait, I'm not in the know.
No. It's absolutely dirty. It's horrible.
It's J Mills.
Horrible.
What? G?
G?
Horrible. Oh, wait a minute.
Like groping?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm just not thinking of a really dirty G word for
Oh,
some
really?
reason.
Dirty G.
Dirty G. Is that your alter ego?
No.
Dirty G.
No, it's Nina Ross. But, you know,
Naughty Nina Ross.
Oh, that's
if
right.
I were to
Naughty.
have an alter ego. Anyway, the topic
Anyways, the topic
is
is
not the
gentrification.
nasty G word.
Not the nasty G word. Although some people do feel like gentrification is a nasty G word. We're going to talk about how we feel about it. What does it mean to us? So,
Chewy.
yeah. You know what? I want to start off with you today, Molly. What does gentrification, what does that word even mean to you?
Well, you know.
You know.
It's a complicated issue. I mean, so I come from a real estate finance background, you know, and so gentrification on a real estate term means one thing. Gentrification on like a cultural level means a different thing. Or, I mean,
What's it mean on the real estate level?
I guess it doesn't mean, but it has different impact, you know? For example, white real estate agents going to white lenders and selling grips of Baltimore row homes at a time, like 10 and 12 to people, buying them for 4,000 to 8,000, putting 10,000 into them max, selling them for 40, running all 10 loans at the same time, and saddling unsuspecting homeowners with 10 Baltimore row homes that have been done the base level of, you know, modifications to it, some bullshit ass contractor work, and now they've saddled. So you know, gentrification in real estate finance, it means a lot of different things, you know what I mean? But it's definitely a property grab, and it's a if somebody's in debt to you, you're always going to win, right? You know, the bank always wins, the house always wins. So the idea is to have as many people obligated to the bank and to the system as possible. So gentrification is like a trap on both sides, you know? As far as real estate terms.
From the
you
real
know,
estate.
From a real estate perspective.
And then
yeah.
what about from the cultural side that you were saying?
You know, I've been living in DC for 15 years, and I've been in Trinidad for a majority of those. My first block that I lived on was Orleans Place. Which is like where Rayful Evans had like 3 stash houses. It was one of the like bloodiest blocks, you know, in the late 80s. It was one of the biggest open air drug markets in DC because it was.
You live on Rayful Evans? You live on that block?
I did. I mean, it's directly across the street from Gallaudet. It's not, you know what I mean? It's right there, you know? I didn't know. I rented a room from a friend, and like a week later I was at work and I like Googled the address, and I was like, oh, no wonder I can't get a cab to take me home, you know? But for me, there has been positive changes, right, that have come along in the last 15 years. You know what I mean? There seems to be like some more schools or nicer schools, like from the outside looking and not having a kid or not, it seems like there's some improvements. But the majority of the definition of gentrification for me is the growing number of people getting left behind. And it's really painful.
What do you mean by that?
Like the woman who was knotted out on the curb 2 days ago when I was coming in, like the man who has, an amputated leg and is in a wheelchair and sits and cooks in the sun all day on 7th Street in the summertime. The old man across the street who worked his whole life and then ended up experiencing homelessness because his wife died of cancer. And they stole his ID, and he had bed bugs from the shelter, and he's like 75 years old with no family, and he's just on the street wailing. These people are on the same street as the Game of Thrones bar where there's 400 people lined up, yet those people are still suffering the same.
Oh, so you're talking about this neighborhood?
I'm talking about any neighborhood in D.C., but I mean those examples are all on the block.
Mm-hmm. And so, you knew quite a bit of detail about the one gentleman's situation. So he's in the Trinidad community?
No, he's around here.
He's around here. So you have spoken to him to know that much detail.
At length, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand how people can walk by people suffering and not do something or say something or try to help. And so I'm very active with the people that are in my neighborhoods, whether it's at home or here.
Thanks for sharing. And now, Molly, you said you've lived in the district for about 15 years.
Yeah.
Previously to that, you were in Virginia,
Yeah.
right? Falls Church area.
I was born at Bethesda Naval, raised in Falls Church. I moved out when I was 17, and then I lived in like Boston, New York, LA, just a couple years here and there. Popped around, came back 16 years ago, something like that. 15 years ago, 14 years ago. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The older I get, the faster the time goes. So.
Don't even tell me about it. So, now, Jay, you were born and raised here in the District of Columbia.
Yep.
And attended university here in the District of Columbia. HU?
Which one to look at? Which camera?
I know, it's a little confusing. I don't know. I think this one's. I don't know.
No, it was that one.
Yeah.
It was that one.
So you were born and raised here. You went to school here.
Yeah.
You are what some people call a native Washingtonian. So how do you, as this quote unquote, actually I have two questions for you. One, how do you feel about the term native Washingtonian? Because this is something that I've noticed that people use here in DC, but I'm not sure if they use it like in other cities. Like if you were born and raised in Boston, are you called a native Bostonian? Like I don't know. The
I've
word
heard native New Yorker.
A native New Yorker.
And a native Los Angeles, and a native Houstonian. I think it has to deal with how transient or how many people, from other places are in your city to the point where Columbusing.
Right, like if you're in Oklahoma, people probably aren't like, yeah, I'm a native, because like everyone is from
not.
there,
So, as a native Washingtonian, I'm assuming that you're okay with that term. Or are you?
I am.
You are. Okay.
That's why I keep chiming in with my super nativeness.
Great.
Yeah.
Right. Shout out to Cherokee background, correct? In your family?
Choctaw and Blackfoot. But was right.
All right. Thank you for correcting me. I'm not trying to marginalize other people of color. That is for certain. So as a native Washingtonian,
yes.
You have been here for several decades.
Yes.
And you have seen a lot of changes.
Yes.
But probably also a lot of things stay the same. So what does gentrification mean? How do you define gentrification?
The word gentrification, as a native Washingtonian that did spend time living out in PG County, as I didn't know about it until the complexion of DC started to change, because gentrification was not the word that's given when people of any other race move in large number to any area. It's not called gentrification when they make it Chinatown. It's not called gentrification when it's a bunch of people from, whatever Latina background. It's not called gentrification when black people transferred black wealth to PG County and made it one of the richest counties in the country, let alone the fact that it also is over 80% black. But it's not called gentrification when we raise the wealth and raise the resources and raise, the capacity of a place. So when I think of gentrification, it makes me think of Columbusing. I think that the word in and of itself is inherently disrespectful to anyone who is not Caucasian. And what it translates to, in as much as what is going on in DC and many other cities, it almost is, I tell folks that it's a trigger. I don't like to talk about it because it exposes an anger at this entire paradigm, and there's no one person that can really fix it. It's just, microaggressions that occur that disturb this anger that comes from the pain of being neglected and seeing what it's like when they care. And the juxtaposition as they continue to care about one race and overtly neglect another, it's a lot. Right now there's no hospital for a woman to give birth in Southeast.
What?
Yeah. They closed
DC
there's only one
General.
hospital. It was Greater Southeast. They've been closed DC General. But do white people think about this as they're gentrifying Capitol Hill? Do they have any connection to what it meant when they closed those quote unquote poor hospitals
They
and what it
also
could
turned
mean
the women and
for
children's
them?
hospital
Yes, they closed that into
condos.
condominiums. Columbia Hospital for Women.
Yeah.
So again,
Are you
it's
serious?
this disconnection.
Yes.
Like, don't you want to live too? I don't understand. Don't you like parks? Don't you want to have a house with children one day? I don't know. Maybe not. Destroying home after home after home after home and making it 1-bedroom condos or 2-bedroom condos. These hundreds of years old, these historic homes. And you just put a sign outside the front and talk about who used to live there. It is so disrespectful. It is just like unbelievable. But, to offset my anger, I enjoy looking at PG County. I feel real blessed to look at the communities of color that are excellent, and I love using that word. But I don't know. I've been having problems with gentrification. Like, is this a word that we can take back and own? Like, nigga, can we do that? Can we be like, yo, nah, we gentrifying this bitch? Like, can we? Or should we be like, yo, gentrification is fucked up, and they're the only ones that do it, and it's a bad thing when it happens? But I don't know. I really don't know.
I'm not so sure either.
That's a great question. I never thought about it that way, honestly.
About which way?
That only certain terms, gentrified is only applied to certain people.
Oh yeah. I mean, you didn't say it, but when I first moved into the DMV. My story's, I'm from the DMV, so I don't want to confuse people, but I used to live in Western Maryland. I was born in Bethesda at the Naval Medical Hospital and lived the first years of my life in PG County in Greenbelt, but I don't really remember that. My memory starts when I was in Western Maryland. So I moved back to this area, and when I moved back to this area, and trying to navigate, ask friends and whatnot, where should I go? Where's the best places to go? I specifically remember my friends at the time telling me, well, don't go to PG County. It's so ghetto. Mm-hmm. Don't go to Benning Road. Don't go to anywhere. And I was told basically not to go to heavily majority black populated neighborhoods until they were dangerous and ghetto, like those words specifically. And so I had never lived in the District of Columbia proper before. I had never crossed over into Southeast before, so like I really didn't know. I ended up landing in Southwest where I could afford, in the Capitol Park Plaza Towers. I'm sure a lot of people in the district have rolled through there.
Yeah, it's like a starting point.
Yes, and I started there, and at the time, the neighborhood I thought was awesome. Like Nation, I could see it from my balcony.
Yeah.
It was, and I was about that club life,
That's
dope. And there was, oh my goodness, there's a public housing project right across the street from me, and I'm forgetting the name.
Greenleaf?
Yes, Greenleaf Gardens. And it might actually still be there.
It is.
Yeah.
It's like one of the few, but another one down the block was was there and then like completely razed. Now it's all expensive, brand new townhouses and condos. Anyway, I'm sidetracking, but I'm bringing this up because I am black, but I am not a native Washingtonian. I have moved to neighborhoods in the District of Columbia, primarily black neighborhoods, working class, poor neighborhoods, that have been on the verge of gentrification, and or are actively being gentrified. I've lived in Southwest. I lived on 14th Street at 14th and Rhode Island. Before that was 14th Street. I lived in Columbia Heights on Otis. That was the cut back then, yo.
Yo.
For real. It was the cut up in there.
It's raw.
And several other places. All of those neighborhoods now are super expensive to live in. All the bars are there.
Yeah.
The baseball stadium's there, and the fancy restaurants, and there's new parks and all that. And I say it with like this little resentment in my voice, but all this stuff is dope, right? I like the restaurants. I've participated in them. I may have even worked at some of them in the past years, as my former life as a restaurant worker, and benefited and enjoyed some of these changes. Am I a gentrifier as a black person? As someone not from the District of Columbia directly?
I think that, it goes back to what I said. It is subtly and silently attributed to a particular race and not another. So, just living in this neighborhood, when I moved into the house that I'm in, the black neighbors were overtly joyful, and they literally were like, we're so glad that black people moved into this house. Like every time a house goes up for sale, they're quietly hoping that the new person that comes, and it doesn't matter where they're from, it doesn't matter how quote black or what their money is like, they just want to see a black face in that house so they can say that they still live in a black neighborhood. And there's this sadness, like their neighborhood's gone when a white family moves in.
I do, now thinking about it, I do want to say, I remember particularly like and this was Georgia Avenue, south of the Petworth Metro Station on Newton Street before, and that strip is being gentrified right now. This is before, it had really taken root there. I moved into a townhouse that had been renovated by this jerk. That's a whole other story. I lived in the basement. Couldn't afford to live in the top of the house. I lived in the basement, and a group of young Caucasian people lived upstairs. But it was a nice place, and it served its purpose. I made friends with the people that lived on the street and were always out and about. In fact, I felt it necessary because I lived around the corner from the house and would get harassed walking past it every night, getting off work super late as a restaurant worker, you
Right.
know, 1, 2, 3 o'clock. Like, these guys are super drunk by that point,
Right.
hanging outside, smoking and catcalling and gesturing and all this stuff, you know? So I just made it a point to be friends with people in my neighborhood. I wanted to have eyes looking out for me. So I was well received. I felt like a part of the community on the street. But when I think about it, I don't think that my neighbors received the same warmth as I did. My Caucasian neighbors upstairs, the young folks. And when I think about it, I'm not sure, and I could be wrong, maybe they did. I don't know 100%, but I feel as if they didn't put forth the same effort with making friends with people on the street.
Right.
And there are other places that I've lived in the city where that has come up in conversation. We've talked about it. Like, how come none of our neighbors, like, how come no one says hi anymore on the street? You know, like, I'm from a Southern family where everyone, no matter where you're at, is just polite. You can be a stranger, you can be racist as shit, but you're still going to say hello to the person
Right.
walking down the street, you know? And so I find it strange here in a southern city that people aren't more friendly. But maybe that's because we have a mixture of cultures, people from all over the United States in and out with administration or just whatever it is, you know. There's people who aren't from the South.
I mean, I find that, like, you know, when I engage with people, they engage back, you know? So, like, especially in my neighborhood, you know, that's where I'm doing the most walking around, so it's where I can really acknowledge it the most. But, like one time I was walking past these 3 older gentlemen, and they just were just mean mugging the shit out of me, you know what I mean? And I was walking up to them, and I looked up and I said, "Good afternoon, gentlemen," and they were all like, "Oh, hello, good afternoon." Like, they like their whole thing just changed. They went from mean mugging me to all smiles and greetings and salutations and being super nice. You know what I mean? Looked them in their eyes, said, "How you doing?" You know, and kept walking. And that makes all the difference in the world. You know,
It
I mean, I look
does.
people in the eye, I say, "Good morning, good afternoon, how you doing?" You know, on our bike ride every Monday, we yell to people, "Happy Monday." You know, like when we're rolling through neighborhoods, they look up, we always say, "Hey, happy Monday," you know, acknowledge people. And while DC might not be like the, "Hey, neighbor," you know what I mean, kind of town, I feel like when you make that first step and you have a little bit more confidence, then people respond really well. Because I was feeling that way about this town, and then I spent a bunch of time in Detroit. Shout out to Detroit. And Detroit is like very Midwest. So when you show up someplace, they're like, "Hey, I'm Tom. What's your name?" You know, like, wow, what a fucking concept to introduce yourself to the new person in your room, and everyone just makes you feel so at home. So even though it's Detroit and it's rough around the edges, I mean, Detroit and DC are very similar cities in a lot of ways, but they're super Midwest. And so when I, you know, spend some time there, every time I come back, I'd have a renewed sense and always say hi to people. And it's always like, "Hey, how you doing?" I mean, I'll talk to anybody in any store. Like, I feel DC is a very friendly town, you know? But I think that you have to initiate it, you know? And I think it depends on who you're talking to as well. I mean, maybe I'm engaging with different folks, but...
Well,
Yeah.
perhaps as a native Washingtonian, I can shed a little light about the nonverbal culture of the natives here, where we have a very, very high context kind of place. This is one place where you can get in a whole fight for the way you're looking at somebody if you do not speak. It is so disrespectful. It's like fighting. You don't make eye contact and look down or look like that's just you disrespect. The moment that you caught my eyes and I caught yours, you speak. If you don't speak,
It's weird.
it's beyond weird.
Right,
It's disrespectful.
Yeah.
You acknowledge it. That's what you
Right.
do. That's what you raised. You like from childhood.
Right, if you're in a
You're
space
taught
with
to
someone...
speak. So there's this whole I guess it's a misunderstanding. I know I've been dealing with some of the new people in my neighborhood and trying not to get like that, because I perceive it as disrespect, especially if you're my neighbor, especially if you're just moving in and you see me and you don't speak. I gotta speak to you. And the way that we do it is, "Hey, how you doing? Good morning."
Well,
But already we're like coming from this offended place. Like, I know you saw me, I saw you see me, we looking at each other, and you're just gonna ignore me.
I mean, there might be some white guilt in play too. Maybe they're like, I probably shouldn't be here. I'm just not gonna say anything. I don't want to make it worse.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Interesting.
What you gonna
I'm not. I mean, I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying maybe.
I personally wouldn't move somewhere if I was gonna feel guilty all the time.
I mean, not
about
white
being
guilt,
there.
like actual guilt, but just
won't
feeling
say
out of
anything.
place, knowing you're not really supposed to be there. You know what I mean? Especially younger people. I don't know.
That's like being black in America.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking like. You mean
That's like just
being
our
black?
I'm not saying for them. I'm just saying maybe that's why they're not saying hi. I don't know.
Maybe they're not as accustomed to that feeling of outsiderness, and it's uncomfortable. It is uncomfortable.
Or maybe they just don't want to. I mean, I don't know. I can't speak for anybody but myself. I would like to think maybe it's because they're insecure about being
My white
there,
neighbors
but-
talk to the other white neighbors. Let me put that
okay,
out
well,
there.
fuck those people then. They suck.
I see how friendly they are, and it's this relief that they can finally talk to. Hey, Cindy. Like, oh, okay.
Okay, yeah.
They invite. It's crazy. It's very interesting. So I mean,
My neighborhood's different. I'm probably one of the.
You're in Trinidad, right?
I'm the only white person on my immediate block. And then I think there was a little bit of adjustment getting used to me being on the block, but I didn't buy the house. I didn't make any changes to the house. I don't complain about anything. I didn't come in and try to change anything. And I'm grateful for my neighbors. I say hi to them. If they help out. My dog ran away last summer, and like my neighbor jumped in her minivan and was like helping me look for my dog. Which I was
really
like
nice.
crying. I was like, thank you so much. I totally
Oh,
did not
Lily.
expect that. You know what I mean? But that's above and beyond. It's one thing to like walk around the back of your house and look. It's nothing to jump in your minivan and like go looking for someone else's
Right,
dog. Like that's
right.
awesome.
That's some serious community right
Yeah,
there.
I love my
Yeah.
block. It smells like weed all the time.
Yeah.
It's great.
So here's my thing. Actually, not my thing. As an organizer and an advocate here in the district for almost a decade, this topic of gentrification is always on people's tongues. Whether it's talked about as gentrification or the need for affordable housing, or the need for adequate transportation, or the battle of the schools, like funding and all of that. It's all related. And so what I hear people most angry about is concretely the economics of it. That it's like, as Jay was saying before, as the neighborhood is changing, services are getting better, infrastructure is getting better, more businesses are coming, new houses. There's a cost to that. And people of color or whoever it is that lives there before, whether they're white or anything or any race or gender, they are not suddenly getting a massive pay raise to be able to keep up with the new cost of living and the displacement, and the feeling of I think the powerlessness of that, that's what people are upset about. The cost, the actual cost of things. And so my thing is like, why can't we come somewhere in the middle? Why can't we have new, improved infrastructure so everyone is safer and has good sidewalks and nice medians in the street and adequate lighting? Why can't we have that? And why can't we have nice restaurants and new businesses and keep the cost of living affordable?
Right.
Why does everything have to skyrocket and eventually become replaced? And I'm not mad. So this kind of relates to a little bit. I was thinking about this earlier. I'm not mad when anybody moves into a new neighborhood. I'm not.
I mean, because you never know what anybody's story is, right? You can't just look at a person and know. Maybe they're a refugee from like Albania or
They
something,
could be
right?
anything.
They could be anything, right? So you can't.
They could be anything. And we also discussed here on the show last week that people have the right, or should have the right and the freedom to roam the earth and live and be where they want to be, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, why can't we have things be affordable? Why are we still not able to realize MLK's dream, right? That we can live and coexist together and be friends and, you know, build a nation together that's dignified and equal and, you know, sharing opportunities for everyone. Why can't we do that and like have mixed communities that are affordable for everyone?
Everybody.
If you're wealthy, or if you're on the up and up to be able to afford some of these new places in the gentrified neighborhoods, like, don't you want affordable
Right.
cost of life too? Wouldn't you rather keep your money to be able to travel more or like buy more things instead of spending so much?
Well, right, because that's the
on
thing. Like,
housing.
everything that glitters isn't gold, right? Like, even
Right.
these people moving into these expensive ass condos, like, they're
For
shitty
what?
condos. They're like paper thin
Exactly.
walls. They can't smoke weed. They're promised all these, you know, amenities and shit that don't mean dick because you're paying out so much money for them, you know, and they're living check to check. I was talking to somebody a few days ago and they were mentioning like these guys that they know and they're living in this baller ass apartment, but there's 3 of them and it's a 2-bedroom apartment, you know. So it's like, yeah, sure,
For what?
it's a you know, by you know observation it's baller, but it's not a baller ass apartment. It's super overpriced, and like one of them has to sleep on the couch. Whoever doesn't have a girl that night sleeps on the couch, and they're all still paying like $1,200 a month, and like they don't even have their own bedroom. None of them have their own bedroom, you know. So like, you know, everyone is like stretched, right? Like, you know what I mean? Definitely some people have more than others.
That's not a good
For
quality or
sure.
standard of life.
But no one's, you know what I mean, except for the 1% is like cruising through uninterrupted. You know what I mean? It's, I mean, at the end of the day, things aren't fair. I mean, that's what it boils down to, right? You know, like things aren't fair, and like consumerism and real estate, you know, real estate has fucked everything up because all these people go in and flip all these properties like we talked about, like those Baltimore row homes that they were able to buy for $3,000 to $8,000 each. Well, they didn't need to do those renovations. They didn't need to do those things to raise the value of the neighborhood, because what happens is people that were sitting in their houses and didn't do anything now are paying more next year because you raise the property taxes. You raise the value. Like, that's a good thing. It's not a good thing, and people need to get that shit out of their head. Like, it's not a good thing at all, you know?
Yeah.
Because now people can't afford to live there who didn't do anything. They don't have granite countertops. They don't have any of that, but they have an increasing tax bill every single year, and that's what pushes people out. And that's what a lot of that, you know, people show up in the neighborhood and you're like, fuck, you're going to make my real estate taxes go up. And the people moving in thinking they're doing people a favor.
They're getting a deal.
I mean, you look at like, you know, HGTV, and in an afternoon you can watch, you know, those
Reality
dumb fucking
shows.
couples, that blonde chick and that fucking idiot dude. I'm sorry.
Yes, I love Flipper Flop.
Oh
I watched
my God.
all of the episodes.
But no,
oh my gosh.
But like, real talk, do they have to make $60,000 a house? Do they have to make that much money doing nothing? Those fucking idiots. Do they have to go in? Could they have not? Like, did they have to rip out the pre-existing granite and the cabinets that were already there that were just put in a year ago when the house was built? Did they have to rip those out and demolish them to put in new shit?
It doesn't go with the new stain.
But you know, but I mean, but that's the
match the
whole issue,
backsplash.
and
You
and
gotta-
that behavior is rewarded. That behavior is put on television. If you watch a
coordinate.
marathon of that shit, you'll watch those motherfuckers make $1 million on a Saturday afternoon while you're
Yeah.
sitting on a couch
Just
scratching
like
your
that.
fucking balls. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, everybody in their neighborhood has to work harder next year because those 2 fucking idiots showed up, flipped a house on television, and gave it to somebody else, you know what I'm saying, who probably can't afford that mortgage, and just fucked all their neighbors out of quality of life with that renovation. And people don't make the connections between those things.
No.
And so flipping houses should be illegal. You should have to own that shit and live in it, and then all of this would slow down. The real estate market is what really like just killed everything, and it was across the board in all areas. So there was Latino agents selling to Latino buyers and using Latino lenders. Like, it was in every single community. There was a lot of people taking advantage of other people because a lot of money was made, you know, and it's really hard to recover from that. And as long as we reward people for tearing down shit that's perfectly fine in order to make a buck, like, motherfucker, you ain't even gonna live here when this is over. You know, you're going to hop in your Benz and drive to another state, maybe.
Hell yeah.
You might have even used contractors and suppliers from the state that you operate out of that came with you. So you might not even be boosting the local economy.
Yeah, you got to go
by
with who
buying
you know. Got to work
their
with the
bricks
team.
or their fabric or their stagers or whatever, you know? And that behavior is rewarded constantly.
Hell yeah.
Constantly.
It's America.
I mean, I hear you. I mean, I get it, but I'm just saying until that
Those are the
stops,
consequences.
you know, until
These are the
that stops, like
consequences.
it's not going to ever be equal. But at the end of the day, the inequality is with the 1% and the rest of us.
Here's the
you
other
know?
thing too that comes along when you bring more wealth into a neighborhood, either by flipping it or the police. And who the police are
Catering
to, and the wealth that they are trying to now protect while also still over policing. You know, I was working for this woman for a little while, she will remain unnamed, whose partner is a real estate flipper. And he has a beautiful home in Bethesda and buys properties, foreclosed, abandoned, in Southeast and different parts of PG. And I was privy to hear, actually, this woman asked for my advice, thinking that, you know, because I worked for her, I would understand and validate where she's coming from. But her husband had bought a house in Southeast, right over there by the Alliance for Concerned Men. You know where that is?
Yes, I know exactly where that is. Shout outs to them. Their spot in Southeast and their spot that was right there on 11th Street in Sherman, uptown. Doing great things for the people.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So it was in that neighborhood, and he had got a hold of this property and hadn't done anything with it for a year. He bought it and was taking his time on quote unquote fixing it up.
He was Douglas developing it.
No. In the meantime,
That is something that
but that
notorious
yes.
for.
Yeah, exactly.
But in the meantime, this home apparently used to belong to an elder in the neighborhood who had passed away, and it was tradition to have barbecue in that backyard. So they continued on with that tradition, and the new property owner was not happy about that at all. And was calling the police to tell them to get them out of there and to do something about it. And
They didn't like try to talk to them themselves. They just like called the police.
I think they tried to at first, and then the people told them like, "Get the fuck out of here! Like this is what we do." And
Understood.
nobody lived. No one
No
still
one
lived
lived
there.
there.
Like
It's
they weren't
vacant.
renovating. It was still
Who do you
vacant.
think's been stopping the crackheads from turning this into a bando?
Yeah.
They better know that they've been. Go ahead, finish your story.
So that
Goodness
didn't work.
gracious, the cognitive dissonance.
So then they called the police, and these are white folks. The white folks called the police to like have them deal with it. The police were like, we're not doing anything about that. The police didn't take, so that's in favor of the police. They did, you
I will
know,
begrudgingly give them credit.
begrudgingly
MPD.
give them.
Yo, DC police they're not. I don't really have too many qualms. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
fuck the police.
Yeah,
But
baseline. Baseline, fuck the police, but I'm with that. I can co-sign
So
that.
the police didn't do anything. So then she was asking me, she was like, well, you know people at city council, you know how things work. Like, what should we do? What can we do? Like, this is our property.
Why don't you live
It's
in the
our
house
right.
you bought?
Right?
Right? Maybe if you were there, they wouldn't be all up in your backyard. Or maybe you could
Or
join them.
develop a relationship, have conversations.
Find
you
out
know,
why that
the
place
power
is
of
important.
conversation. Exactly. We're just talking about how in my neighborhood, as someone moving into DC, how Molly is someone moving into DC. have built community in the places we occupy by having conversations with the people that
Yeah,
are previously there.
Right, because we recognize that we just showed up,
Right.
you know?
So
Even if you move into a new neighborhood, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you're still new on the block, whether it's you've been in D.C. your whole life or not, you know?
yeah.
Again, I guess, my PG bougie background, that's why I was like, yes, you do that. Yes. Because I know plenty of black people that do this. I used to work for a real estate agent, and she had so many different properties. And then helping her with other people who in her management of their properties. Hell yeah, I love seeing people do that. It's not race specific. I love seeing people of color do it and do it right. I don't see a problem with it at all. The people who are doing the work on these homes, if you ever go and visit their homes be immaculate too. The problem is not the people that buy the house. It's not the people that flip the house. It's deeper than that. Why does a house cost this much? They're not the ones that set the comps. They didn't just pull this number out of the fucking sky. They Googled and said, well, how much were houses sold for in the past 6 months? The market is what the market is, but we're not asking, why does it cost 3 to 4 times the amount for a house here as it does in Atlanta, as it does? And you can just go across the board.
Or
You
in
can pick a
Baltimore.
state, the same square
Or
footage.
in Howard County or anywhere
Or Houston.
immediately
It
outside.
can't just be because
Yeah.
you're in a city, but in New York and in DC and in LA and in certain places, San Francisco, but then you got Oakland. Like, there's an elephant in the room that we're not talking about here. Because how the fuck is it possible that same bullshit house, when it was a black neighborhood,
Is
wasn't
now
worth
twice,
nothing?
Right.
I got friends. You bought that house for $35,000 up to $75,000 if you bought your house before the 90s in DC. And then all of a sudden, while crack was all crazy and everything was all boarded up, my parents are talking about that. That's how they forced the black people kind of to move out, because they dropped the prices in PG County. We got a house for $155,000 out in Fort Washington. We had a pool in the backyard. And meanwhile, you're trying to charge people $250,000, $400,000 for a shell. That's a crack house currently. Which house would you buy?
Exactly.
The crack house? Shell for twice, 3 times as much as this house out PG County? But what does that mean? We didn't even know. While PG County has these beautiful, immaculate, beautiful houses, how much are they worth? And you're going to turn around and say that these row houses are worth $1 million and get mad at the developers? You mad at the people that's renovating? No. Get mad at who decides the price of the dollar. Get mad at America. Get mad at consumerism. Get mad at the banks.
The banks.
We don't set the price of
The
milk.
banks.
We don't red line. We don't decide who gets the loan and who doesn't. We are not the reason why a 7-bedroom house in New Carrollton costs $350,000.
The bank.
Beautiful houses out PG County. Huge houses.
Girl, I know.
And then the only time they did try and do it was just to try that predatory mortgage bullshit. Get people who already own their houses for 100 and some odd thousand, 200 some odd thousand, to be like, oh, well, actually, your house is worth 600,000, and if you refinance, we can give you this and blah blah blah, knowing good and well that the house is just worth whatever they say it's worth. So they refinance you at 650,000. As soon as they got enough people, guess what? Your house is actually now only worth 300,000.
Sorry. That was super metaphysical.
It was.
It was like double J Mills.
Double J.
But again, we're not. Who decides that? Who decides the property tax? Who's the one that said, "Oh, okay, these black people in Southeast who own all your homes, we're going to keep raising up that property tax and raising up that property tax until you can't afford to live in this beautiful house."
Because they're flipping
anymore.
the houses. Because
No, it's not because they're flipping the houses. It's because if there is no poor, then there'll be no rich. But we can't have it just simply be classism. It has to be racism, because there are a lot of poor white people that only have their whiteness. There's a lot of middle class white people that only have their whiteness. There are white people who cannot afford to live in these places, but as long as they don't see no niggas, they gonna pay that fucking bread. That's what's really going on. Sorry. Facts.
Real talk.
Well then.
Real talk on the MNM Show, y'all.
But I will tell you this.
Sorry.
I will tell you this. When they're sitting, when Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are the only two lenders in the country are signing those lines of credit, they're not looking at the ethnicity box. If you are able to be straddled with a couple $100,000 worth of debt, you are a customer and you are
For
of
life.
value. They don't fucking care if you're black or white or any of that. They see you as a debt that they can collect on, period. It's like the one institution that's not racist in this country because all they want to do is saddle all of us with debt. And the only true lender in the country, every single bank, countrywide, any of them, they're only funneled down to two lines of credit, and that's Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and those are controlled by the government.
You do know that, like, house to house, the color of your skin will make your house worth about $20,000 less.
I'm not denying any of that. What I'm saying, though, I'm just saying as an institution, that's one institution that wants everybody in debt. And if anything, they put more people that couldn't afford it, a.k.a. subprime lending, into debt because they knew that, again, the house always wins. If they have a mortgage note on you, they own you. You know what I mean?
Indeed, man.
Indeed. So...
Fucking
But-
gentrification, B.
We can't get it twisted because all of those institutions, they are run by people, and those people talk to other people and have relationships within the government and different banks. And it is a network that benefits from the structural racism and sexism that exists in this country. So it might not...
And consumerism.
And consumerism, and it may not be deliberate. People may not be in the boardroom together, scheme, plot, fuck these black people, fuck the Mexicans, fuck the women. But they're thinking about those numbers and just thinking about those numbers and not the actual consequences.
Right.
And that whether they're intentionally doing it, to various communities or not, it's happening. And it is another sign that this is fucked up. Nice.
More confirmation, folks. You heard it here first. The world is
confirmation.
definitely fucked up. Stay tuned for more of this.
Hey, man.
Speaking of the world being fucked up,
What
What
should
a
we talk about
segue.
next? Oh my God, the world is our oyster.
Can we talk about Kanika? Kanika?
Kanika?
who's Kanika? Tell me about Kanika, please. You better speak up. You better not ask to speak about something and then go silent. Tell me about Kanika.
It's hearsay. I did not get to see the video in question.
Gossip? This is
I
gossip?
just saw reactions to the video on Facebook. I saw articles about the video.
Who's
I saw
Kanika?
news in reference to the video. Kanika
Okay.
is a young lady who's 19
Yeah,
years
super
old.
young. Super
Went
young.
to a hotel party in Chicago at the Crown Plaza Hotel, very nice hotel, and went missing.
Okay.
So, fishy things surrounded her disappearance. Associates called her mother from Kanika's cell phone saying that she was missing and she couldn't be found. Then they drove Kanika's car like, we don't know where she is. And the mom was like, I don't know, it's some bull. She kept coming back to the hotel. She three times she made them look at their surveillance video, and in that surveillance video she sees her daughter like stumbling down this hallway. She was found in a freezer, dead.
And not just like a walk-in freezer, but like a freezer where you have to like lift it, super heavy,
Very-
doors like hard to get in. She was like stumbling in this like little
She
frail
could barely
girl.
hold herself up.
And it was like a completely empty freezer, and it was on the lowest setting possible. Yeah, horrifying. But it gets worse.
Supposedly it wasn't turned on before she was in it. Like, there was no food in there. This wasn't a freezer in use. It wasn't like she had the midnight munchies and was like, what's up in here, and found out it was a freezer while she was trying to go inside to the back to grab a case of strawberries.
I think it was like a floor, freezer, right? Not like a walk-in, but like a...
So, there are videos that happened that night. There are accounts that there was a guy that wanted her, and she swerved him, and he decided he was going to take it. There were other women who knew that was the decision that was made, and was like, oh, them boys is crazy. Like, not trying to stop it, not trying to help her.
Wow.
And then one girl was like Instagramming it or like Facebook Living it and talking, and she's wearing these like Africa Bambaataa like giant reflective shades,
and
so
you can see through the reflection who the other people are, and supposedly, allegedly, she's getting raped in the background while this girl is Facebook Live, like talking about it.
You are fucking kidding me.
And ends up dead in the freezer. So, there's another story of another young lady who got some girl that she was mad at for some reason, got her drunk, passed out, and got these guys to rape her. And she went Facebook Live on that. There's another, rest in peace to the MUA, I think. She was a makeup artist and a hairstylist. She was a hairstylist for sure, doing weaves, that decided to pop up at her boyfriend's other girlfriend's place. The girl was pregnant, and she shot the MUA.
Oh my God.
Murdered her. So this week is just a lot of women hating women. A lot of just like, wow, man. And I don't know, it's interesting, you know, in terms of like what we're talking about gentrification, and we didn't really I didn't want to
link
get
it
into
for me, because I'm not linked.
I didn't get into certain things that black people have done to ourselves, in spite of all of the different systemic things that are placed on top of us, all of the different manipulations and food deserts, and, you know, bad educational systems that teach you that Columbus discovered America. In spite of all of that, we still manage to be our own worst enemy.
What's a sickness?
But then if you look at black women, and as a woman, all the things you got going against you, just with males in general, but then you're black, so you got all that stuff going against you because you're black, but black women still manage to hate black women the most, and that's fucking crazy.
I mean, it does. It sucks, but you know what? I'm gonna be honest right now. I don't know if I hate anybody, but there are some black women in this city that I dislike very much. Our mayor is one of them.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do...
But that's what I'm talking about. Like, how do we have a female mayor at this time right now that has no obstetrics or no child delivery services and one whole quadrant?
Because she's
how is a woman?
She's Skeletor. She's void of a real soul. It has been bought.
Damn.
It has been bought. I mean, I have tweeted this before.
I mean,
she
I'm not
hates me, by the way.
Own that shit, man. Own that shit.
I think the mayor, I think the mayor hates me, as well as her crony follower, Brandon Todd. He definitely hates me as well.
Oh, speaking of which, Jeremiah Lowry, did you see that he
yes.
Hello. Super exciting.
Yeah, I'm secretly. Anyway, so, no, I knew about this for a long time.
Okay.
I've been in scheme
That's
plot
awesome.
mode with him.
I'm super excited to just help out.
Awesome.
I want to help anybody that is qualified and intelligent and motivated to do good things for the city, because I don't know what that means.
Amen.
Jeremiah's a Ward 8. He's a native Washingtonian from Ward 8. I met Jeremiah, oh my God, so long ago at the University of Maryland. I was an orientation advisor, and he was a freshman coming in. I was his orientee.
Nice.
And we met then. It's almost been like, I consider him like my little brother almost,
That's awesome.
you know, and then he worked at Rock after I worked there, and was a volunteer while I was there. And, you know, we've been working together for a long time, and I've just really seen him. I mean, this is the MNM Show, I'm being honest. I've seen him transform from a silly young boy to a serious, powerful man.
That's awesome.
And I'm really proud of him. I'm really excited that he's running, although he is challenging Anita Bonds. And Anita Bonds is like a dynasty in D.C., and everyone likes her. So it's going to be a tough race, but she's going unchallenged. And I'm excited for him to challenge the establishment in D.C., because even though Anita's a Democrat, she does great things. Make bear no bones, but she's part of the establishment. She's part of the old network here in D.C. that has a certain way of doing things, and this is how we do things. This is how it is, and you know, it's it's time to update with the
Yeah.
new generation. He cares about the environment. He cares about working people. He's been working for years. We got to get him on this show.
Yeah,
actually,
that would be great. We should have him on next week.
Let's make it happen. I'll make it happen.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, but we were talking about women doing unfortunate things to women, more than unfortunate, serious aggressions against women, black women in particular, and
allowing that to happen.
and allowing
also.
that. It's humans do fucked up things to other humans from the beginning in history of time. It baffles me, and this is why. This is part of the reason why in my business, Tigers One, shout out to my own business, self-promotion. This is why I have one-on-ones with women about loving themselves, about liking who they are, about finding their own personal style and expressing that fearlessly because they love themselves. And when you really love yourself. Now, a style therapy consultation is not going to make you love yourself. This takes years. I'm planting seeds and then following up with people. But I'm just all about like putting that positive message to love yourself, because if you love yourself, then you love a human being. Which means you should be able to love another human being.
Yeah.
And think about, if I love myself, would I do that to somebody else? Know? And so with these stories, there is an absolute void of love in those situations. An absolute void. And so,
sad,
that's,
honestly.
I think that's why you promote one love. I think that's why you, Jay, promote self-love and awareness and the green life.
Also,
it's, it's self-care. It's love. Because, we can just never get enough of that.
Agreed. And I think as women, like, it's just difficult because everything in the media that we see is like designed to make us feel less than, and designed to make it feel like the other woman has whatever it is that you don't.
Down to the eyelashes.
Everything.
Down to the eyelashes.
Everything.
You need more.
And it goes like in every direction in all kind of ways, because you look at like when we've talked about this before,
implants and
like
shit
cultural
and
appropriation,
fingernails.
right? White women are putting like boxer braids in, right?
Don't get me
You know what I'm saying? So
started.
it goes in all directions, but we also live in this like side piece era, which is also like just breeding mad insecurity and like jealousy and hatred towards other women, because it's
really
this
is.
era of like side chick Saturday or whatever the fuck all that is. And so you just never know if like that woman is a threat to you or not, because
you're right. You're right. The new SZA album, like, it's a great album and stuff, but it's all about like being the side chick and in that like 20 to 21, 23 era, and I'm like, I can't relate to this shit anymore.
Right.
It sounds great, but I can't relate to this
and like
shit.
it's just bullshit. It's insecurity. Like, who really wants to be like someone's second and third choice? And I'm sure there's a bunch of poly people who are listening. They're like, no, I'm totally cool with that. That's fine. Not me. I'm too insecure. I want to know that you really fucking like me and that like you're really into just me. Call me crazy, and I'm not gonna be all aloof and be like, no, it's cool. That, like, like
Humans
I feel
are
like
a
I want
lot
to
of
cry on the
work.
inside. Yeah. Like,
We're a lot of work. I don't know how you could have like multiple side chicks to begin with.
I
Like,
can't even handle like walking my dog on a regular basis
Right?
and like being emotionally available to myself. Never mind like several other people.
I know. I don't know how people manage it. Jay, you were
juggle.
gonna say something.
Oh.
I feel like we cut you off.
No, so many.
Oh,
It just
okay.
went so many.
This is that rapid fire.
So many different places. I think the thought I was thinking when you're like, oh, we're in this side chick era. While I'm not a religious person, I enjoy reading great books, and I gotta say the Bible is a pretty cool book. The book of Proverbs specifically, which spends a lot of time talking about immoral women. Chapter 29. Who can find a virtuous woman, for her price is far above rubies. And I think that men have forgotten. I've had this convo. It's not even about us. It again, redundancies here. We're not going to talk to women about, what's going on with what men need to be responsible with their dicks.
Yes.
Every good woman knows that
Talk
there are
about it.
far more bad women than there are good. We all know that we're the rare ones. There's far more hoes, sluts, skeezers, skanks, just bitter nasty, negative women than there are good. Are you a good witch or a bad witch?
I don't.
You are powerful.
I don't co-sign on that.
I'm sorry, but it is true.
Every
in
woman
America,
is a queen. Every woman is a queen.
Yeah, what kind of queen are you? You a good queen or a bad
That's
queen?
right. There are queens of the.
Yes, that's the problem with it. Yes, you're a queen.
I just don't like
that's
calling other women skanks or hoes. I'm tired of it. Sometimes it's called for.
It's a duck. And that's just what it is. And I can get into the different breeds of women and how different they are. I mean,
oh shit!
I've been talking to men.
Next week.
Right? It's crazy because it went on this one thing right here, and it blew my mind. I'm like, damn, I'm in my 30s, and this is crazy. But I'm asking men. I was like, yo, I have not met one that said yes. Do you play hard to get? I'm like, fuck no. If I want you, I want you. If I like you, I like you. I'm just saying that. Now, many women, almost all of them, like they play hard to get. They can like the fuck out of you, but they're not gonna let you know how much they like you. It's this game that they play.
Yeah, not at first.
Both sides are.
I gotta feel you out.
Both sides are crazy as fuck. 'Cause we're like, silly man, you don't even know me. I just met you, and you're like telling me you want me to meet your mom. I'm like, the best thing in your life, dude.
That's a little much.
What if you met my friend? She's pretty too. You don't know enough.
I
know,
know,
right?
You are like an eternal beam of like moonshine. Like
Pretty magical.
Like, dude, there is no one like you. I want to take you home to meet my mom too. But
she's got a
in
great booty
different kind
too,
of way.
folks. She's got a great booty too.
Yeah, and she looks like a different woman every week, man. If you marry Jay Mills, you're loving it because
She keeps it interesting.
she's a chameleon.
But
as
you were,
Yes.
I was just saying that, you know, that side chick again. That thing right there is only one chapter of Proverbs that talks about what a good woman is. The whole rest of that book is like, this is a hoe, and watch out because this is an immoral woman, and watch out because that's an immoral woman, and watch out, man, because if you drink, you gonna mess around and your judgment gonna be down and you gonna fall for the immoral woman.
You're gonna take advantage of a woman.
Like, there's this one passage in there where it's like, and her hair has many colors and her smell is loud, not laugh.
Loud.
Because I love the loud. And my hair be many colors. Like, oh man.
That's like half a DC.
It is. Watch out for those with the many bracelets, and she jingles when she walks, and her hips have a sway. I was like, yeah.
It's like a guidebook for finding an awesome girl.
It kind of is, if that's what you're into. But I mean, knowing that, like, you know, as Jay Mills, there's this personality that I have when I'm on stage, and immediately when I'm off stage, I turn that off. But there are other women that are like that all the time, and that's cool. Not to say that dressing beautiful is supposed to mean something bad. It's been perverted. All women are supposed to be respected, whether you're a whore or not. And I remember when I was a child, when being a hoe was respectable. Like, those Playboy bunnies, even though that's what they did, they were in magazines. They were centerfolds. Like, they were the best hoe they could be. I remember, like, K Street hoes. You remember like Pretty Women hoes? Like, this bitch is a professional fucker. And that is what she
professional
does.
fucker.
She is at the top of her sex game.
That is skills.
Get your money. I look at you and I know that you cost money. And that's amazing.
I wish I could do.
You just made me want to be a prostitute.
I wish I could do what a hoe did.
I'm just saying. I think secretly many women do. They want a man that will love them and keep them. They don't want to, like, don't let me be a hoe for you and then you kick me out. That sucks.
Yeah, that's the worst.
That's what makes
I've heard
crazy. But the side chick thing. I mean,
we just need more R&B. Honestly, R&B can save us. We need to talk about like sing about loving each other and shit again.
I agree. Music is so, and I'm not hating on music these days because I'm not an old fogey that does that. But a lot of music is like real explicit. Like that song out. I know you wanna love, but I just wanna fuck. It's like. But girl, keep it real. I'm just
hold
like,
up. He literally sampled Avant.
Yeah, everything is just a remix of some old shit.
That's the same words.
Wow.
That's the breakdown right there. I know you wanna touch. I know you wanna feel.
I mean, that happens. Well, he just perverted the Avant version.
It was already perverted. Yvonne just made it sound better. You know, they just
He did.
slid it in.
Oh,
You know, like the Chris Brown song, Fuck You Back to Sleep. I really prefer to Sex You Back to Sleep. It sounds sexier and better, you know?
Fuck you back to sleep.
Like, Fuck You Back to Sleep sounds a little rapey to me. Like, on the real.
Yeah,
a little
especially
bit.
coming from Chris Brown.
Like, a little,
I feel like everything that comes out of Chris Brown's mouth is a little
Maybe
rapey.
if it was
but
from, like, Usher.
I don't think he's
it'd be
rapey. He's
cool,
violent.
but-
It's a different type. It's like a safe word disobeyer. That's what I think.
Yeah,
Of Chris
I
Brown.
don't know.
He's the type to make you take it in your ass. Like, no.
Like, I don't want to. J Mills, I
do
don't
it.
want
No.
to.
J
I don't
Mills,
want
too
to.
late.
Stop it
It's too
right
late.
now.
It's too late, and now you have to deal with
You
it.
know,
Oh,
I
man.
He's
just,
the worst.
I-
I should not be.
I want
Even making light of that.
Marvin Gaye. Like, I want,
Let's
you
get-
know?
Yo, that was a nasty little song.
I
though.
know, but that was nasty, but that's like innocent compared to what
Sexual.
they're saying today.
Or like some
Him and
Al
something.
Green.
Yeah.
But then you realize that, like, after that he wrote that song, he just, like, went, like, threw hot grease on the woman he was singing about. So,
Yeah, I don't want that either.
yeah, I don't know. No hot grease. Thank you. Just the passionate love songs, please.
Again, like both men and women are crazy fundamentally, and we need each other in some capacity for balance. We really got to work on that masculine energy, feminine energy.
We do need each other.
And just decide who
100%.
you are. You know, just as many animals as there are. That's how many different ways there are to be in a sexual relationship. I think that people, they lie to themselves. We have this weird society that's trying to like say that this is how you're supposed to be. Some people want to have multiple partners. Some women like women and they like men. Some men like men and they like women. Some people are really into some crazy things. They have all types of different
are.
sexual
I
appetites.
think people are into more things that are outside of the box than they are inside of the box.
I don't even know.
With the internet?
No idea.
Because
I mean, look
I
how
don't
many-
even care.
Think
Like,
about how many categories are on like porn searches. Like it's like it just keeps going. You're like, I don't even know what I'm into anymore. You
But
know, like
I
everything
don't even
is
know
a
what
thing.
some of those words mean.
I don't know either. I
Honestly.
feel very
I hate discovering things I can't unlearn.
you know.
So,
I'm
and
sorry.
on that
flashback.
note,
Yeah, we're not. We're back in that, the dirty words and things that cannot be said.
yes. You know,
That was
I
so
think
funny.
Porn terms you never
I-
should have looked
I
up.
think
You know?
That's-
I think that's the perfect transition for our business shout out.
Shout out to our sponsors, Pornhub.
Oh, IXXX.com.
Oh God.
They have crazy categories. That website.
Wait, say it again, J Mills.
I should make them pay me for this. Cause
Well,
it's
we'll send them a
almost
copy of the
commercial.
video.
Yeah.
Say it in your naughty Nita voice.
IXXX.com.
This is why I love the MNM Show, because you never know what you're going to get. We can start off talking about something very serious, like gentrification, and then somehow wind up shouting
Right
out
here.
Pornhub.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
And
saying?
practicing our porn voices.
You know?
This is why you should
Maybe
stay
next week I'll
tuned.
practice mine. You never know what's coming up next, you know?
You never know. Have we gotten any dick pic stories?
Whoa.
No.
Applications
No, I
submissions
haven't.
yet?
I haven't received any unsolicited. Only one time in my life.
I don't have any dicks on this phone.
Whoa.
Thank God. So, and with that,
I just feel really proud of my maturity in life
Moving right
now.
along, yeah.
I don't know when I got this phone, but no dicks this year. You can say that. On my phone.
I haven't got any dick pics this
It
year.
sounds like a
either.
Christmas list. Dear Santa, no dicks this year. Love.
Please.
No dick. Hold on. No dick pics this year.
So I don't know how the owner of Calabash is gonna feel about a business shout out directly after the dick pic.
I feel like I can
segment.
like confidently speak for Senora here, and I think she would love it.
Wait, can we shout out like Dornay because they're a black owned bra
Corsets?
and
Yeah.
corset.
Wow. There we go.
and-
Let's
Wow,
let's
let's
lead
do
with
both.
them, and then we'll
do tea.
Let's
Yeah.
lean.
Class
Shout
it
out.
up.
Tell
Tea-
us about Dornay.
tea and then tea.
Dornay. So I am for those. We got some tickle bitties out here. We have some nice little racks. You know, shout out to the
do.
MNM Show. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. You know,
All of us. Yours are looking quite perky.
I think
today.
I got a new
Yeah.
bra. Oh, you
That's
noticed?
great. I
Wow.
did.
They do look.
Great.
I noticed too,
Oh,
Molly.
wow. Thanks, lady.
I just had.
Look at this
wow,
bonding and
wow
shit. I love
thoughts.
you guys. This is great.
You know, shout outs to women who can do stuff like that. You know, man.
On air,
See, that's,
no less.
I'm just saying. Something man can never do. Like, damn, you that thing hanging right today, player.
Looking pretty good. Looking better than last week.
That would be so awesome.
Whoa, look at
think-
those joggers. What kind of where you get them joggers from? I like that. I need that in my life. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, nice bra. And
thank you.
I should be wearing a good one, but I'm wearing a sports bra today, so I'm not a good model for Dornay. But yes, when I'm the real J Mills, I'm wearing Dornay underneath whatever it is that I got on because they are awesome. They tailor make their different pieces. They have an immense selection of really unique sizes. My last one, 34H, although it's probably adjusted in the past couple months. It's shout out to anybody who's above a double D. Anybody who has an awkward bra size and understands the struggle of if you don't fit Victoria's Secret, how hard of a world it is that you live in. So if you're in the DC area, apologetically, because this is off the top of the head, I didn't look to see what their website was. I'm going to check really quick, but I can say that the name is Dornay. They are located in Silver Spring, Maryland.
On Georgia Avenue.
On
How do you
Georgia
spell it?
Avenue. Dornee.
Oh.
Dornay.
They're like on Georgia Avenue, right by the Meineke and a 7-Eleven.
Oh, yeah. In Silver Spring,
In Silver Spring, in downtown Silver Spring. Yeah.
Word.
Jay's going to look it up. While she's looking that up, tell us about why Calabash is so dope.
I got you. Well, Calabash Tea and Tonic is located on 7th Street, just around the corner. And it is a lovely tea house where they sell some vegan items, sandwiches and veggie patties and things like that. And all kinds of teas and tonics to make you feel good. The owner, Sunyata, is a Dr. Sunyata. She is a 5th generation Jamaican herbalist.
Yeah, I'm on.
And so like her soup recipes is her grandmother's, like everything is handed down, and it's mad love there.
All I tell.
Yes, and it really is. And I mean, you go in there and they greet you, hey beautiful, how you doing? And at first I was like, yeah.
Impressed.
Enough with the hard sell, but they actually feel that way, and everyone who works in the neighborhood considers that place church, because everyone, when you're sitting at your desk or you're bartending or whatever you're doing and you're feeling that slump or you're tired or whatever it may be of a headache, you just go to Calabash, man. And you walk in, they greet you, they genuinely give a shit. They're like actually asking you, how are you feeling right now? How can we make you feel better? And then when you tell them what's wrong, they make you this concoction that genuinely makes you feel better. And I've shouted them out before on this show, but I wanted to bring it up in regards to like gentrification and the city changing, because Dr. Sunyata has been all over. I mean, she's from New York. She's had, I think, shops in California, or potentially. She used to be uptown, like further uptown, like over where like Sembeb's is, in fact, her and the guy Kepra, I think they used to be married at one point. So it's crazy. I mean, she comes from a long line of like people in DC, people of color in particular in DC, who have been leading like the vegan and raw movement for a lot of years.
Yeah.
Long before it became cool, to juice and all that shit, right? These are people that were super committed to serving the community and have been for a long time. And so I wanted to really shout her out again, because I think it's deeper than just that. But, at the same time, she's now on 7th Street in this expensive ass building that was recently developed and, probably pays a lot of rent and has to really adapt and deal with different types of customers, you know what I mean? And different types of things, but still stays true to her community and like her mission of making people feel better. And she really just bends people, people that come in with one perspective and these demands, the new DC, if you will, like she just really wraps them up in love and then like redirects them in her way. And it's a really great thing in the community to have that, to like really slow people down and make them realize like where the fuck they're at, and like to not undervalue that and to not steamroll it, and then to also genuinely appreciate it. So I wanted to really shout her out for doing that and creating an environment where all of her staff, really can extend that exact same feeling that she brings to the table, whether she's in the room or not.
Yeah, I co-sign 100%. I've been there like 3 or 4 times since the first time I went there.
Right.
I'm so happy to give all my money to
Exactly.
Calabash. And, every single time, just like you said, she has trained or makes her employees feel so valued that it's a really magical spot.
And she's hard on them. It's not like it's like, oh, it's okay, there's no mistakes. Like, no, she's like, this is how it's done, and like, and I recognize because I'm like the exact same,
Yeah.
But like, she's making them better, and like, and they are. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're so tuned into the customer experience because they have things moving so smoothly on the back end, you know what I mean? Because she's figured it out, and then she's trained them so well that they are able to do their jobs and still give that energy to the customer at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's really quite impressive, and I'm glad that she's, stayed in DC, because people are always trying to get her to go to Cali and everything else, but like, she stayed in DC, invested in DC, and built that shop, from scratch. It was just an empty concrete shell, a brand new concrete shell, but she built everything that you see in there, painted it, built it, installed it, decorated it, all that. She created
beautiful.
that vibe in a brand new empty shell too.
Yeah.
It's so cozy and awesome. It feels like an old it's shop,
Yeah.
and it feels comfortable and good. It smells amazing. So
Yeah.
shout out to Calabash Tea and Tonic on 7th Street. Definitely stop by and get your head right,
Yeah, Calabash at 7th and T, Northwest.
right.
Calabash. Did you find the
I sure
website
did.
for Dornay?
Yes, that would be DornayCorset.com. And it's only 1 E, not 2.
Spell it
So
for folks.
DORNE Corset, CORSET.com. They
Dornay.
specialize in custom fit bras, corsets, girdles, lingerie. They have mastectomy bras. They have nursing bras that are super sexy. Another commercial. Dornay bras.
That's awesome. The mastectomy bras, that's super cool. I never
know.
thought about that.
They've
That's
got
really
all
awesome.
the needs.
That's awesome.
That is.
Thank you.
Long lasting. Bras last for life.
Thank you, Dornay.
Awesome. Well, before we close out with our metaphysical moment with Mills, I wanted to just follow up with something that you can do locally if you are affected by or know folks affected by the Trump's decision on DACA, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. Here in Washington, D.C., there's an organization called Many Languages, One Voice, or MLove, as it's known. And basically, if you go to their website, which is mlovdc.org, that's mlovedc.org, it'll explain on there that if you are a recipient and if you're a recipient of DACA and your work permit expires now and between March 5th of 2018, basically you can apply for a 2-year renewal so that you don't automatically get deported. And if you want to do that, you have to do it by October 5th, which is right around the corner. Now, in order to reapply for your status, there's a $495 fee that comes along with that. And I don't even have $495 sitting aside right now. So, Many Languages, One Voice is fundraising so that they can support as many local youth who are DACA recipients, and which they have many in their membership and organizing committee. So there are direct people that you can help. If you can donate whatever you have, $5, $10, it would be helping some.
And where do they go to do that?
You can go to mlovedc.org. If you scroll to the bottom of their page, there's a donate button. You can go there. You can also go to their blog, which is mlovedc.org/blog, and it'll explain the politics of what's happening with DACA here in DC, the mayor's response, what we're doing as a safe city, Grosso and David White, their introduction of a resolution to affirm the rights for all, to make sure that DC police don't become immigration officers. There's a lot going on here on the ground. You can find the information there on their blog, but I just wanted to make sure people knew about that since we had talked about it on the last show.
That's helpful.
And know the status of what's actually happening here on the ground. So shout out to MLove and all the other organizations who are fundraising to help folks stay who are essentially American.
Yeah, so maybe if you decide one night this week you were gonna go out, but then you randomly don't, and you end up at home, throw $20 at that fund.
Absolutely.
You would have spent at least that on a lift and a drink minimum, and you're gonna flake out at least once in the next 2 weeks on your friends. So flake out on your friends, show up for a kid who needs you, right? That $20 if everybody thought that way, or maybe skip coffee. Send them $4.50. If everybody did that tomorrow, if half of us did that tomorrow, they would be able to save a lot of kids and keep a lot of families together.
Yeah.
So,
I know that there are 8 youth on their organizing committee that directly are affected by this. And so they're immediately trying to raise at least $2,500 to immediately help those 8 youth who are a part of the organization. But of course they're trying to exceed that, and get the word out that they're doing this. And there's hundreds of organizations across the country who are actually doing this as well. So again, go to that website so you can check out and see the organizations who are helping. And if you're someone who's actually affected by this and you don't know where to turn, this is a great website and resource to start at here in the district. Again, that's mlovedc.org.
That's right. And actually, based on the numbers, if half of the people who are listening to this podcast right now gave $2, it would be enough to save those 6 kids.
8 kids, yeah.
It would be enough to save those 8 kids just off the break. Yeah. So if you're listening to this, if you make the decision to donate, you can directly impact the lives of those children that live here in Washington, D.C.
Absolutely. So thank you for listening, and let's roll on over to the metaphysical with Mills.
Metaphysical. Snap.
Take some deep breaths, get myself, physically ready for this enlightenment.
Yes.
Get some water, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you're listening, take a deep breath, make yourself comfortable on the couch or in the car.
In through your nose.
There you go.
Breathe.
Out through your mouth. Inhale positivity. Exhale doubt. So, shout out to everybody who's tuned in online and who will tune in later and who's tuned in the past and who will tune in the future. Today's Metaphysical Mills message is about ego tripping and what that has to do with your metaphysical trip around the sun, the reminder of the star that is the light, that is the absolute light that your soul is. Not came from, but is. I've said before, and I'll say it again, it's important every day just to remind yourself that you are a soul that's carrying around a body. You are not a body with a soul. Your soul is forever. This is the body it has for now. we look at life completely flawed and completely reversed and from the total wrong thing. At the core of who we are all with all that is, and all that separates us is our ego. Truly. It's our identity of who we are. And while we're in these bodies, it's extraordinarily separated. Mentally, we're aware of these tribes. You meet people, you meet friends, you can meet somebody and be like, it feels like I've known you forever. And that's because your mind is familiar to them. You all are of the same character. You came to do the same things. You love the same things. You are of a similar spirit. But your soul, the light, the all, the ego. What does this have to do with right now? Getting too deep, Mills. Ego tripping is when you find yourself saying, who the fuck you think you talking to right now? Who do you think I am? Bitch, you got me fucked up. I had to use these words and these things because, it gets real sometimes. And you can find yourself ego tripping. You have to realize these words and these thoughts and these traps, because it is at that moment you are about to fuck up your spirit walk, because you forgot you are a limitless being. You are a God, and you will be subjected to the very opposite of that which you are. You are a light. You will come face to face with the darkness. Are you going to remain light? Or are you going to show them how dark you can get? It's your choice. It really is. And that's what you're saying when you ask somebody, hold up. It's at that moment you turn. Because, you got me messed up. You thought it was one way. You thought it was light. You thought it was good. You thought it was sweet. You thought it was love. But we about one love, right? And this message is about the light and the all and the love. And it's at that point that you cannot be reactive. You must try your very hardest to be proactive and check yourself before you wreck yourself, homie. At those moments when you hear those words, it's going to be tough, because when somebody is, they get you to that point, you're here as the spirit to say that you were light and you were love and you have patience. Well, that means somebody's going to have to test you. You want to prove how patient you are? How patient are you? You really got the patience of Job? Really? You have everything taken from you, everything you love, everything you did, everything gone, and you still going to wait upon the Lord? Or you going to have some fuck yous for some people? Somebody check you because they don't know. Maybe you had a car but you crashed it. Maybe you had that body but you lost it. Maybe you had that money but it ain't on you right now, and somebody got you fucked up, man. The metaphysical message is to always be love. Be proactive with your love. One love, one soul, one light, one all that is all that is, and outside of the all there is nothing. So love, be compassionate, be benevolent, be patient, be all those things that you thought that you could be if somebody asked you who you were before you got the ego tripping. That's my metaphysical message, man.
Awesome.
Thank you, J Mills.
And that concludes another fresh live from the One Love Massive Creative Headquarters episode of
Blah, blah, blah.
MNM.
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 Show. Thank you guys for being here. I really, really love this time that I get to spend with both you ladies. It really helps. It helps a lot. So thank you. Thank you.
We love you.
We love you too.
We love you.
I can't sound like a. I can't do it. I just sound like a troll.
No.
Did you hear me? I
A
sound like
sexy
I sounded
troll.
You have to
with a new bra.
try and speak from your ovaries.
I'm gonna do it when I'm alone
yeah.
first and not on Facebook Live. You know
You
what I'm
gotta
saying?
reach really
Sometimes
deep.
you gotta.
You have to watch the next show to hear Molly speak in her sexy
Oh,
voice.
Connect your uvula with
You're
your
just gonna
areola.
exploit me like that. All right.
Yes,
cool.
I am.
Word. Girl power.
Girl power.
See you next time.
Yeah.
Peace.
Wait, we're still